Good evening, everybody, and welcome for the last session of the day. We're very honored to be hosting this particular session. It's a very interesting, never-before-done conversation on crafting the live in VR experience, meeting of technology and art with Mr. R Rahman in conversation with Nasreen, Munni, Kabir. Just a brief note on the session. Rahman sir has always subtly infused a very deep and refined command over technology in the making of his music. He has recently finished crafting the Vande Mataram Live-in-VR Experience, which chronicles in 4K Stereoscopic his tribute concert to Bharat Ratna M Subbulakshmi at the United Nations in New York, USA on the 15th of August earlier this year. With this, he now moves also into the complete 360-degree, technically immersive experience space. While many refute the use of VR as a filmmaker's technology, there are many who have described it as the next generation in chronicling and preserving the performing arts. Rahman sir's live-in-VR experience marks a firm but definitive step for the fledgling VR experience industry in India. This session hopes to explore a very rarely discussed side of Rahman sir and his body of work. How does he strike a balance between his love for technology and his ease with it and his artistic expression? It also aims to delve into the way he sees the VR industry in the country and in the filmmaking universe over here. So without much ado, sir, may I please invite you to start the session. It's an honor. Would you please come up, sir? And in conversation would be documentary filmmaker and author Nasreen Munni Kabir.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for making time to come here this evening. I think there are many among you who were here last year when we had the pleasure of talking to Rahman about his work. Today, we're going to focusing on to VR and the experience of VR. Now, I must say that the first time I heard about it, you were the person who mentioned it to me in London, and I think I must have asked you at least 3 times to explain what it is. So do you think you could share with us again, what do you think, what is VR, other than the fact it stands for virtual reality?
Okay, so I didn't know anything about this. I was in Los Angeles, and last year one of my friends was the CEO of headphones called Odyssey. He gave me glasses, Samsung VR, and he said, AR, check this VR. I said, okay, give it to me, and I threw it. And so like 2 months later, I had bought another phone which fits into that, and checked it out. And I said, the world is changing. Because the way we see films in 2D or even 3D, which is normal screen films, you get a particular emotion in it. We are used to that. I've been watching movies from very long time. I used to watch 4 movies a day from the age of 13 when the first VCR came in, and I experienced movies from then. But this was life-changing. It did something to me emotionally which nothing else did. But people said, oh, this technology, that technology, yeah, it's fine, and then you go on. But this really changed the way I felt about characters. And so, of course, there's some do's and don'ts in it. The don'ts are, if you're a very extraordinary 2D filmmaker and you do something on VR, everything will be wrong, because they will just remove stuff immediately if there's too much of things happening. It has to be immersive. It has to be like real life, and then it works. It's like you and me sitting and talking here. So I'm just not an expert. I'm just beginning to, I'm a learner in this. I'm not talking like an expert. I'm just talking like a learner. And tell me.
Now, basically, now I'm sorry, we're going to have to step back a few steps. You said then there's the headset. Now, the headset is, what is that attached to?
So the headset, there are 3-4 ways to do VR, which is, you have a great mobile phone, you put it on a headgear, which has 2 lenses and a strange looking thing, which is very uncomfortable to wear. But if you wear it and everything works out, it's a great experience.
So it's playing off your mobile. It's playing off the mobile.
It plays off a mobile, mostly Samsung mobiles, not the Note 7. The ones, the 6 and the 7 Edge and all this stuff is extraordinary for a lower thing, but there's also Oculus and there is HTC Vive, which is meant for VR, and they've got like a 2K headset. And it's still a work in progress, I think, and there's a PlayStation VR, which is coming. I've checked out everything, so I'm like, and so all of them have interesting possibilities. And
so basically, it's playing like an app. It's playing off the mobile, and you view it through the headset. And obviously, the sound is coming from headphones.
The sound comes from a headphone, yeah. If you have to wear the headphones. I brought mine here. I don't know where to set it up.
Yeah.
Those are very interested. I can take 10 people.
So basically, coming back, it's the headphones, the mobile, and then you watch the film. Now the film, if the VR film, is it, now everyone talks about 360 degrees. Now, in order to see 360 degrees, you have to be like the exorcist and start swiveling around your neck. How do you actually view what's happening all around?
So, I think as like first, any technology comes in, they just make you feel that, oh, this is all possible, and then do experiments or samples, which is annoying because you have to turn and then your neck is paining after the next day. So I think once it settles down and then you go into normal narrative storytelling, you just stick to the main 180 and then go like how surround sound happens. You know, when it's necessary, they open the speakers. It's not always coming through all the speakers. And there's dialogue that's in the center. So it's probably parallels. You can draw parallels from that to visual too.
Now, for somebody, as I'm not experienced in it, you obviously have to explain, I think, a little bit of how the camera is shooting. So that way we understand how we get this 360 degrees.
Okay. This one, what we have, this clip is shot with 24 cameras built in a machine called the Jaunt. And the Jaunt can do 360 and stereoscopic. That means if somebody sits here, you really feel that that person is here, as close. And very, very intimidating. You can look into the eyes, you can feel scared or fall in love, anything. It's this close, not.
I see. And now, sorry to be a bore, but all these 360 views, are they all the lenses set at the same distance?
That is calculated with the shutter all in synchronized, and there is a cloud stitching happening, which is very, very expensive. Like, it goes back to the normal filmmaking which happened 100 years back. So I recently did a project where I couldn't even see what was happening. So I had to trust that the Jaunt is taking everything and wait and watch the fun. So now we're seeing all the rough stitches of that project.
So you mean that you would, like in the old days, you'd have to shoot and then wait till the lab processed and then see it. So it's the same thing here.
Some are very similar. So we have a smaller camera with a wireless thing which can show partially what you need to see. The rest of the stuff is you have to wait for the stuff. So when we're shooting, literally, everybody has to go and hide. The lights have to be, I'm talking like a filmmaker now. The lights have to be kept in a way where it can be removed later. You could have to take a plate and then erase it out later. In case you need real lights.
So basically, if you have a circular set, the camera is going to film the whole circle. Yeah. Like I saw your UN film, and it was very interesting because when I started swiveling on the chair, I could see behind me, and I saw some people in the audience, and one man was sitting there texting, Rahman, while you were.
He was a PR guy. I realized he looked very stylistic.
Yes. But so that you can actually see everything. But what I found fascinating was the fact that because you are swiveling and you're turning yourself, you are becoming the camera, and you, the person, becomes the
point
director.
Of view, yeah.
So was that the thing that excited you?
the thing which excited me was how emotionally it connected, not the possibilities of, as I told you, for the first time you can see somebody here, and you can also realize in sound, you can do much more with the sound. It's not only visuals, you can go dark and then there's 3D sound, binaural sound, and then other sensory things are all getting added to it. So it's very, very exciting what could happen in a year. The only thing which you'll miss is texting or tweeting while you're locked, which is a good thing. So if the content is really good, they wouldn't have to do that.
Now tell me a little bit about the duration, because people are saying that because of the headset and the very experience which is so omnipresent and you're immersed in it, that it's difficult to have very long films. Do you think that's true?
Again, it depends on the movies. If something is too much, it's like somebody's playing a trumpet at a distance, or somebody comes and plays it and you're here. You know, the difference is you have to be very sensitive, you have to be very soft when you're playing. So it's like visuals like that. It's in your eyes, it's really in your face. And so the 2D fast cutting and moving the camera, all this makes you throw up.
I see. So you have to be quite stable.
Very, very. It's like almost theater meets computer graphics meet reality, you know.
Well, that's a great way of explaining it. And tell me, in terms of the sound, okay, we've seen your UN film, and music performance gives itself quite naturally, and that's why people are talking about recording, performing artists. Do you think there's special work? What special work do you have to do with the sound?
In case of VR, I'm doing another project, secret project, which I'll tell you later, that had 9 mics. It was done in Auro 3D. And every time we roll the camera, the guys would come with one tree kind of a mic set. It's almost like 10 feet, all the mics. They record all the stuff for that to play back.
I see. So it is quite an elaborate...
It is. Yeah.
And what about, for example, they are saying that the gaming industry is it's a natural home for them. Do you think that's true?
I think there's a world beyond gaming industry in this, and it's yet to be discovered. That's what I felt. Live, like what we're doing now, could be really, really live. And like one of the Oculus press meets, they had something very, very cool. They could have people in different countries sitting in the same table, but you feel that they are here with you. So those kind of things. But the main narratives are yet to come in, and that'll be really, really cool to watch movies which are meant for VR.
That will be quite difficult because you've got also to control the dialogue and their listening and the attention, you know, so that's going to be very difficult. Now, everybody in the Western world is absolutely excited by this. Do you find the conversation about VR very different in India and there?
I've traveled probably to US, Japan, Europe. In Europe, all the VR headsets were unsold. It was kept. In the US, it's all sold out. So it depends on country to country, people willing to adapt it. I went to Japan, Fukuoka, and they didn't even know what VR was. Oh, VR, I know. No, I don't know what. So it's, in India, some people know, some people don't know. So it's slowly coming up, I guess.
And do you see it actually being something that, I mean, I read an article which was with Tim Cook from Apple, and he said he didn't see the future in VR because it was such an individual experience. You're kind of isolated, whereas cinema is a community experience. Do you agree with that?
Partially, because everybody is discovering it. And they might discover something unique about it, or some people might say, this is not for me. So even filmmakers, I was in Rome recently and had a similar kind of workshop in the Film Institute, and some students were intrigued, some were like, no, it'll be a failure. And so it's interesting. It's good to have two opinions, and we'll know, time will tell the result. In a year or two, we'll know what it is. But definitely it's got something extraordinary about it.
But for you, what do you think was the most exciting thing about VR?
A whole new way of experiencing, immersive, and I took probably 2-3 months to get used to it. Before it was 5 minutes, then I was sitting for 6 hours. First few months I got vertigo. And now my body is used to it. And just to experience a lot of clips, what to do, what not to do, if you're exploring it artistically.
And is it the visual side or the sound that interests you?
Mainly the possibilities of what is appealing and what is not appealing to. Some of them are doing too much and it gives me dizziness.
And do you see it being used for archive? For example, could you have old pictures and new pictures and see the difference of cities, for example? What kind of subjects could be really exciting to see in VR?
I think the artistic forms, dances, music. So if you're in a symphony and you're sitting in a chair, so there's a front row of violins and you're sitting in the back, you can watch what's going around. You can see the timpani player, you can see the brass section. And that's one experience you can never get, all those things. You're in a temple, you can see the people worshipping, or in a shrine. So the experience of, it's going to break all the laws and take you to a whole new different world.
I'm sorry to be banal, but I saw something on television in London, and they said that estate agents were very keen on VR because instead of visiting the flat that you want to buy or rent, they could show you the VR and you would see the whole perspective of the apartment. So it has a commercial use and a very important medical use as well. Had you seen any medical films?
No.
And do you see it having a great interest in India? Do you think it's something that will appeal to Indian audiences?
I think the phones, the next generation of phones, if it becomes 4K and 8K, it's very simple. Just put your phone in, you don't have to buy anything, and that's the answer. So you have something which is, you don't have to buy for the sake of buying VR, and it's 2-in-1. It's personal.
But you know, when cinema was very strong, obviously, and then television came and everyone said, oh, now people will not watch films because there's, because there's television. Do you ever see that the VR could become, because we do live in a very individualistic society, could VR become the next thing for a certain class of people?
No, I think they've broken that. Because the phones are so cheap. Not cheap, actually, but it's accessible for everyone. Like everybody has an iPhone, everybody has a Samsung, and so that way they've reached out to everyone already. So that's what makes me believe that it could be a success, because they've cracked the whole code of bringing it to everybody's house.
And I believe it's a very, very good device to use for documentaries as well. Have you seen any documentaries in this form?
There are mainly documentaries being done on this, rainforest, and so mainly what's available is documentaries. We watch any 2D movie converted, it looks very bad.
So it has to be shot on that camera.
Yeah, and the style of filmmaking, the style of narrative has to be more slower, I think.
You mean the movement is not so possible? Yeah. And if you were to imagine conceiving a scene which is in 360 degrees, what is going to be your dramatic problems?
There are no problems. You just have to go into the mode and do it. And I particularly like nature. I like to shift my environment from a box of a flat to the Himalayas or Antarctica or a jungle in Africa or in India, Ladakh. So these are the fun part.
But do you think it is maybe storytelling will be possible as well?
A lot of people are explaining. I think Spielberg is investing 25 million in one of the projects.
In a story, in a film?
Yeah, in a couple of years.
And can it be very long? I mean, because people now, mostly the VRs are 5 minutes, 6 minutes, because of this problem of feeling dizzy. Can you see it being quite long?
I think there'll be options. You can watch it in 3 parts or 1 long, maybe.
It's like the television box sets. Now everybody watches, whatever. I can't imagine a VR binge viewing. You have to think of that. And do you see that there is a kind of a big audience globally? Do you think all cultures will like
Those
this?
are the questions which are not unanswered questions. It's a leap of faith that I'm doing projects on it already, and just to see the possibilities. There's no assurance of money returns yet, except for gamers. I think even that is slowly opening up.
Is it a very expensive production, a VR film?
Right now, there's no one camera which said this is the camera. Everybody experimenting with different cameras. And the format now seems to be, the good format seems to be 4K 60 FPS and stereoscopic. So the difference between stereoscopic and monoscopic is, stereoscopic is like 3D. Monoscopic is you see all over 3, but it's normal. So I prefer 3D stereoscopic.
So can you explain that again? I didn't get it. So it's
monoscopic is like, again, you see a planetarium, it's all over the place.
Yes.
So it's 2D.
Yes.
And stereoscopic is literally somebody's here.
Yeah. So if you've got a soundtrack where you want the attention to be here, and then after, say, 20 seconds, you want it to be there, how will you organize this?
So that's on the Sony PlayStation VR. There is a device which does that now. When they launched it, it requires a lot of computing, so the phones can't do it, I guess. So I saw that on PlayStation. Not checked that in the Oculus or the Vive yet.
I'm going to ask probably a stupid question, but when you do the background score for a film,
Yeah.
you see it obviously on the screen. Now you've got a situation where you're watching 360 degrees. How do you watch it and compose?
It's about the emotion. So the pads or the atmosphere could be stereoscopic, stereophonic rather, and the main instrument can of course travel with the viewer's eyes. So it tracks the movement of the head.
And do you think kids like the VR?
I don't know.
Have your kids seen the UN film?
I'm the kid.
I think that was probably true. But tell me something. What about there's a lot of debate. I've seen lots of articles, especially in England and so on, about the whole question of filmmakers saying, what is the narrative form that VR will take? Because you've got this diverse attention. They're all discussing this, but what's your instinct tell you? Will it become like stories like films, or is it closer to gaming, or is it theater, or is it something we don't know?
I think something we don't know. We all like to go to a place where it's special. And that's some of the projects I'm experimenting with, which I'll let you know in the future. So we want to take you to a place where you've never been, but it's very special. It's a created culmination of music, visuals, and other sensory aspects.
Do you think it was this kind of leap of faith and this kind of journey into the visual future that excited you?
Yeah. You get bored after. I get bored very easily, as I told you last time. And so this opens up a whole new world. And things which there's no question of, hit film, flop film, or it's just there. It's like an art installation. You can experience it anytime. There's nobody telling you, this is great, this is done well. It's you to decide what it is. It's very individualistic and not somebody telling you it's good or bad. What you take from it.
Can you put up your hands? How many people have seen VR?
Wow.
The majority.
Geeks.
Fantastic. Was it here? Everywhere.
How many of you liked it? Why did you like it?
The different content that you get to see and how it changes the narrative of the story itself.
Okay.
I completely relate to you when you say it was such an individual emotional experience. I watched the Syria documentary, which was being told from the point of view of a 13-year-old girl about 300 Syrian kids that were displaced from their own country.
That's a beautiful one.
And you look at them and you're there with them almost. If you've got to immerse yourself into it, and you've got to not have too many distractions, but you're there with them and you realize that, my God, this thing is happening, and you're so far away from it, but still you're there.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
Great,
I could watch VR throughout my life. It's beautiful.
You have to join me then.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing with VR is the sound. If you have that spherical sound experience 360, then only the VR is immersive. Only visual cannot help.
Yeah.
So that's the basic.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there any other comment?
I think this is nice. Let them talk.
Yes. What else?
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
It's an enjoyable experience to see the VR, but I was just, it was strenuous on the eyes. It has to constantly open up and close, the pupil gets a little bit strained. So
I think for the first time, I took around 2 months.
Wow, that's what conditioning.
So first it was just 2 minutes, and then it was 20 minutes, and then 2 hours, and then your body gets used to it.
But I enjoyed the fact that I'm getting into another world. It's like Alice in Wonderland experience.
Yeah.
That's a great description. Anybody else?
What I really set a chain of thought off in my mind, if we could use this technology and probably, if we were looking for an answer, what would happen if you die? And, if you were to visit heaven or hell, if someone was to answer that question, it would be through VR.
It's very strange. I was developing a project with Mr. Ratna M in 2008. It was called Maya, and he had this concept for a Las Vegas kind of a thing.
I saw that New York Times film, and you climb up and you see all these people up in the sky. So if you actually want to experience you're dead and your body is lying down, and you see everybody is...
Maybe you should do that movie.
So it's something that can be done in VR, which we probably couldn't do in 2D, and you couldn't even relate to it. But here, you could be traveling through it.
Brilliant.
So it's good for something of that sort.
Rabia.
Yeah.
When I watched the film, which was about the refugees, I felt that the main difference in watching it was that the audience was more in control than the content owner who was creating the content. So I could actually slip from one portion and go haywire all over the room, see the production design I wanted to, like in the field, go there and actually get my control over what I want to see. That was the main difference I found.
Yeah. So if you're a filmmaker, then you have to direct not one side. It's up, down, right, center, left, and back. Welcome to the club.
Because even though it is 360 degrees, it's still the filmmaker who is showing you what he wants you to see. Then what you emphasize is you.
With VR, the visuals look like really good, all 360 degrees, but I still find it challenging where the audios are not
catching up with them.
Yeah, catching up. Like say if
the audio is just stereo or binaural, because for that you need a lot of computing power for that to chase.
So, hi, I'm Nitesh. I actually saw a medical film where they were using this technology for people who are paralytic waist down, and they showed them that they're actually walking.
Oh.
And because of this, the part of the brain which actually sends signal to the legs, it started stimulating or working. So I think VR also has a very impactful psychological effect, more than the films that we're used to watch. So the kind of experiences we'll be having, they'll somehow, in some small way, start changing the way we think, or the experience would be more impactful.
Yes, because the film you're talking about, I think I saw a version of it in which that it actually tricks the brain to thinking they have limbs. And the brain is then triggering the nerve system, and therefore the prosthetics can move. So it trains the brain to give the signal to the false limb. And because of this technique, so for medicine, this is very important.
Hello, good evening. I'm Sanjay from Pune FTI. Will this VR open any new avenues or challenges for the music composer or mixing?
Yeah, I think already symphony orchestras are adapting it to show the people how to be in the middle of the orchestra and all those things. And so IMAX has created a special theater for VR already in Los Angeles. And in Amsterdam, there's a theater already for VR. China's big for VR. They already have special chairs and rooms.
It's also the thing is, I don't know about all around the world, but at the moment it's only in Tokyo and in Amsterdam where there's a VR theater. But I'm sure there'll be theaters everywhere very soon.
Yeah.
I actually met somebody who said that I was holding the chair when it was going up in the big flight film. So I believe cinema itself is a very sensitive medium, but this one is something which is, I think, may change the world, but it's scary at the same time. Maybe if horror films are gonna come into this one.
There is a couple of clips actually, you can see. Ask somebody to catch you that you can't run away.
Yes, because the horror films are
I remember I put this on my elder daughter and she said, do you want to watch a horror clip? And she started screaming and then I took it off. Don't take it off. So she wanted to scream.
My question is that actually it begins with a comment. Since I come from a broadcasting background, our eyes we have two eyes, but we see one picture. But our ears have that ability of hearing two sounds at the same time, and we actually catch directional sounds. So what is the challenge as a music composer that you face while recording for a VR film or any presentation?
I think the gentleman asked that too.
Yeah, I think you can do gimmicks with the ear thing, like before when stereo came in, how Beatles had drums on one side and bass on one side. But it'll all settle down and see what is giving you the emotional satisfaction or being more true to nature. I think we're all aiming at that. What is true to nature is what satisfies us the most. And music is also very similar.
There are lots of filmmakers here. Could you put up your hands, any people who would want to work in VR? Lots.
So in VR, I think it's still the cameras are mostly GoPros synchronized. And the expensive ones are very, very expensive. The costliest camera is called the Jaunt, and it's around $100,000. The next is Nokia, which is $60,000.
Is it American?
Nokia is Finnish, and Jaunt is American, yeah. So for this project, Jaunt sent the camera with one of my friends, cameraman, who came and kindly shot it.
And tell me, are these cameras available in India?
GoPros, yes. But you need to 3D print it and make what you like. You can do it at home.
And do you think the ad world will start making VR films?
Yeah. Money is a question. Can you make money out of it? Yeah. Then everybody will jump on it. But right now, I think the question is making money is zero.
So there are two things that make the live playing is what makes the concert, and the people around you is what make the concert. I just wanted to know what your opinion was on how VR will affect that.
I think they will crack where we will be virtually sitting and people across the world will be sitting along with us. And you can really see each other. And in 3-4 years, maybe that could be the thing where you are sitting alone, but you feel that you're amongst your colleagues. You could be from another region, from Africa, America, Australia. And you can feel, but of course, the most annoying thing is wearing something on your face. And you can't say anything. Once see what's in the room. It's very dangerous for games, I think, because some of the games you can walk and experience the room, but if you don't see this one, you're going to fall down. It could be dangerous for kids.
You know, we had a session with Imtiaz Ali the other day, and I asked him, because obviously he makes a lot of romantic films, what impact social media had on romance. He said he thought it actually made people more lonely. This VR experience it is virtual reality, it is not reality. So could it make people think they're there, but actually they haven't really experienced being there?
For lonely people, it'll be very good.
I'll tell him to ask.
Because we celebrated my mom's birthday. She was ill for a couple of months. So I wanted, I've never do all this. So we invited all my family and we took her on VR, just the way she is now. So, things like this, you can cherish for your entire life and see people who are old.
Are there other questions?
This is Deepika. I wanted to know, how was your theatre experience? Did you have it when you were in LA? Was it individual, as in, did you feel?
The VR theatre.
Yes. Was it a solitude?
No, I just got the news and my friend sent it because we're also looking at future projects coming out in I think it's going to be like an installation first, like an art installation. You'll have probably 20 chairs and the movie will be playing for a year in one theatre.
But it'll still be, as in, it'll be this movie playing and everybody having those glasses.
And the sound will be probably mixed between the speakers and headphones. So you get much more, you can feel the whole energy of this.
Because I went to an exhibition of Bjork songs, music, and you had this headset, you had the headphones, and you had speakers as well. So they supplemented, it's like supplementing the tracks by different sounds coming from different places. So all the different speakers were set at different volumes to emphasize whatever she wanted to emphasize.
Hi. Is it possible to have a VR for your songs itself? For example, because when I listen very intently, there are so many layers to it. And imagine if I could watch the song. There's something there, and then some layer there, and some layer there.
Yeah, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
It's how much you're willing to spend. And because computer graphics is very expensive, and stitching a VR content, like to stitch 24 cameras for 15 minutes is $2,000. And of course, it's like 8K or 4K. And so a lot of questions are unanswered. People are evolving. Companies are making cameras which are competent enough to shoot this. But it's very exciting.
Do you all
like somebody has to make the Citizen Kane of VR.
Do you all understand the term stitching? Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, because there's 24 cameras all shooting like this. And each one is probably 2K and then stitched to join. Yeah.
Good evening, my name is Nilakshi. I had a question. When we are shooting 4K and when we are editing, we come down to 2K. Are we ready, are we equipped in post-production to actually have stitching done correct? Or will it be downgrading again?
It depends on, again, if you have an Oculus or if you have a HTC Vive, it's 2K now. I'm sure that by next year everything has to go to 4K and will feel much more real. But if you shoot on 4K, 6K, 4K, and you downgrade, it's still better than shooting on a 1080 or 2K. That's what I found. You downgrade it from 4K, it's better than shooting it on 1080. Especially in VR because the quality has to match with reality. It still has to get there, but what we have is still nice.
Hi, I'm Rahul Ahuja from Bandolin. I want to understand, while you're creating content that's too real on virtual reality, how do the audiences protect themselves from hallucinating and sort of the ill effects they'll have? Because it's like your music, it grows on you and you keep getting the Oculus off your head and you're still in the vision. How do you protect yourself from that?
We have to be very considerate. That's what I'm saying. Any content we create has to elevate our souls and not, of course, I don't like horror movies. So.
Are there high chances of misuse where?
Yeah, there are high chances. There are high chances. You have to be very careful. Particularly there's an app called Within that's very VR friendly. Crisp Milk, I think. I don't know. And a couple of Korean ones, which is very interesting. The rest of them are doing too much and gives me a headache. And I just take it off.
Thank you.
Some directors have actually described it as a very trippy experience. Some people from the 70s talk about LSD trips, where you had this feeling you were seeing...
What is that?
LSD. Nah, I'm not telling you about that. Any other questions?
I'm Geeta. I was thinking about this theater experience, and you were saying that the music would be coordinated to the eye movement. So if there are 10 of us sitting there and revolving in the chair in different directions and different speeds, what would happen to the music?
So
and sound?
if this camera is in center and then you're all sitting around, now when I turn to this person, the voice will be in my center. When I turn to this person, the voice will be in the center. But if it's not connected with the gyroscope or anything, then it'll be stereo. She'll be talking, he or she will be talking and still hearing it on the left side or the right side. So this is the technology which I think PlayStation has cracked. They got a special computer which can do that. With Oculus, I don't know. For the games, yes, but most of the videos don't have that. They just have stereo.
It's actually very complex. It is really, you're making it sound easy because you understand it so well, but it's very complex.
Ultimately, it's how you feel. So,
the question, I think I've probably experienced Oculus probably when it was in a beta version. That's like 4 years back. So that time I could walk around and experience that the 360-degree thing.
I don't want to walk around. It's so dangerous.
Yeah. So
yeah, imagine you're on the top floor and you're experimenting walking. That is my ultimate fear. Kids doing that. Please be careful about it.
This is reminding me of a situation like in the film Matrix. How far are we from machines taking over? It's the easiest route for it to take over.
It's a good question.
I don't know that question. I'm a very organic person, though I use a lot of machines.
As long as the robots make coffee, we're okay.
I only have apprehension about it that, please don't spend too much of time in VR. Like, we want your original songs, as it is. So,
all that is done already.
But it'll be very interesting to know in 1 year from now what happens to VR. And then I hope all of you will remember this conversation because I've learned a lot today thanks to you. I had no idea about this. I mean, everyone is talking about it, but to understand it is another story. Thank Rahman very, very much for sharing these insights.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir.